Hey, what's going on, guys? We are back. You're watching your favorite podcast, Necessary Knowledge and Nonsense. I'm Caleb.
Josh.
And we got my man Tavier, the GOAT. Today, we'll be covering gun rights, which is a very important issue, not just that, from the college perspective. So, starting off, Tavier, I think we're already at 11 mass shootings already, and it's already January. How do you feel about that when it comes to guns?
Of course, you're going to have proponents of the community, the black community especially, arguing that because of these mass shootings that we should start infringing on Second Amendment rights. I have two big issues with that. The first is that statistically speaking, according to the Pew Research Center, black Americans are only 19% of registered gun owners already. So if you infringe on these rights too much, that number won't go up too much further. And if they're going to do heavier background checks, based on the system, the white supremacist system that we live in, we can almost guarantee that our people are going to get vetted out the most, probably for no reason, maybe like a job application based on your name. And then my second issue is that when you give up your guns, especially considering that our community historically has been marginalized and has been the victims of physical abuse, murder, rape, to give up your weapons is foolish. So even if maybe the larger community or the larger country, the country as a whole is becoming victims, we need to make sure that we can protect ourselves. And that's why I think that the 11 mass shootings are an issue. Yeah. That's a problem. But we don't want to make it so that this causes our community to be disarmed, or so that we don't learn how to protect ourselves. So that's my perspective. I think whatever happens in the country, we need to think about how it affects our community and how we can react as a community versus worrying about the entire nation, because the entire nation is not worried about us, and that's just the reality.
Got you.
So how do you feel about like campus carry? Because I know a lot of like college students are somewhat quick-tempered, and like a lot of things can go wrong where you have something on you, you might use it. How do you feel about that?
So I just found out that a gun license in Georgia is $30.
That's not bad.
I thought it was $75. Which is why I was saving. Yeah. But it's $30, so this next check is on. I think that campus carry is essential. I think that it's something that we can use as an engine to push gun ownership onto young black people.
Personally, though, would you? I mean, do like the old cliche, keep it in the trunk, or like?
I'm walking around with it.
See, why though? Like, why?
And that's what I want to get to. Let's talk about a mass shooting, for example. If there was 50 people in this room, and the bad guy walks in and he has his gun, and everybody in here is unarmed, everybody's going to die if he has enough bullets to kill everybody.
Yes, that's
real.
If
he walks into this room, and I'm armed, and he's armed, now we've evened out the playing field. And
I would argue, though, real quick,
him and Josh, they always go at it too.
Coming through that door, right?
Yeah.
All right. So some people are running this way, some people are running that way, trying to get past him, push him down, or whatever. You start aiming that way, you're gonna hit somebody, bro. And it's not a movie, you know what I'm saying? You miss a lot. So it's like, I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general.
Yeah. If I shoot one person by accident,
he said collateral damage.
No. So we train, and I'm a member of the National African American Gun Association. You can go to our website, naaga.co.
Free plug.
Click join us at the top right hand corner. It is $24 a year. Get involved. So I mentioned them because we train a lot. So you train in order to minimize collateral damage. But if I accidentally shoot one person other than this guy, that's better than him shooting 50 people.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
Real.
So we have to weigh the realities. So,
but if you're really talking about the odds of like an event like that, I mean, I know it can, and it's so easy. You play Grand Theft Auto, you realize how easy it is to like do things, right? Yeah. But it's like, is it worth like the everyday? Somebody stepped on my fresh Jordans. Somebody hit my car, like road rage type stuff. Is it worth it?
That's not what we see with registered gun owners. So again, 19% of registered gun owners are black people, and when you hear about a shooting, I don't think I've heard of any on TV where it was a registered gun owner, a black guy that was killing somebody. Because when you go get your gun, when you get a license, that's a big responsibility. It's like having a car. It's like getting your license to drive. So these people, they go and they train a lot of times. They learn how to temper yourselves, because like they tell us when we're at the range, like, you're going to figure out what these weapons can do. And once you figure out what these weapons can do, you're not going to want to shoot somebody. You're going to want that to be your last resort. So I don't think that we don't see that now. So even if we expand it or increase the number of young black people with guns, I don't think that would be the reality.
I can see that. I agree with you.
And we don't see that in any community. The white community, which when you break that demographic down, I'm looking at the camera again, is mostly essentially Trump supporters. We don't even see that with them. Somebody stepping on their shoes, or I don't know, hitting their pickup truck and somebody getting shot. You know what I mean? So registered gun owners generally are responsible people. Generally.
Yeah.
Tavier, you already know, like we talk all the time, but what do you think separates your approach from people that's a part of like the NRA, or people that's mainly, that have their own different approach, but what do you think makes your association and your whole mindset different from them?
So the NRA supported restricting gun rights when Huey P. Newton, the Black Panther Party, had they were using their open carry rights.
He read my mind.
Their weapons.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to call them a white supremacist organization, but I will say that there was a video released mid last year, around August, and it was a very coded war cry.
Gotcha.
Talking about them and
protect our rights, things like that.
Exactly.
I think I got donkey today for that. For sure.
Yeah, and they're going to this organization versus the organization that I'm a part of, and even the way that I do things on a personal level, we're very distant from that white supremacist aspect. I think that's a big thing. The NRA is highly organized, highly organized, and if something terrible was to go down in this country in terms of racial relationships, maybe some kind of conflict, I would bet money that the NRA and its members would be on the side of the white supremacist regime. What we're focusing on is not coming for them or talking about they or whatever. We're focused on making sure that our community can defend itself just like every other community. Because since Donald Trump has been in office, statistically speaking, there has been an increase, a visible increase in white supremacist shootings, or just mass shootings in general, which are generally done by white men. And we have to take that into consideration when we're talking about arming our community and when we're thinking about the rights that we want to hold on to. Because again, no matter what happens in the larger community, when I say community, I'm talking about the country.
Right.
We need to make sure that we are holding on to ours. So that's what we push. We push self-sufficiency. We don't want to rely on somebody else to come defend us, because I can tell you this right now, hypothetically, if Russia comes to invade the United States, even without the army, the millions of armed white people in this country, they can defend some of this country by themselves. And it's not necessarily the same for us. I don't think we could defend the community right now. So that's how we're different. We're focusing on defense versus offense. There is no white supremacist strategy. There is no black supremacist strategy, whatever that is. So that's how we're different.
That's cool, man. That's dope. JB?
That's good stuff right there.
Hey, that was perfect for you. And look, Tavier, from like own personal experiences and things like that, I've even witnessed, some friends that carry guns and some young people who don't carry guns. But why do you think it's not taught to most children? In some communities it is, but why not vastly, that we should protect ourselves, that we should have guns, and not just that, use them responsibly as well?
So this is a long answer. And it starts when you are in kindergarten, right? And I don't know about y'all, but the only black guy they really showed me was Martin Luther King Jr. And then they only showed me 1963 Martin Luther King Jr.
Not post that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so with him, they were able to push this super liberal narrative of nonviolent action, even in the face of superbly violent individuals.
Got you.
So I think that's where it starts. Even now, when I talk to certain people about arming themselves, they don't see how it can gain them any kind of liberation. But when we look at human history generally, whether it was the French Revolution or the Haitian Revolution or the American Revolution, it was violence that at the end of the day secured freedom for groups of people. But we have been taught that that's not necessary. So I think that has a lot to do with it. We don't think that arming ourselves is necessary. The reason that there are more gun owners in the white community is because it's cultural. Some of them live in very rural areas where they hunt. They know the animals well, they know that environment well, they have to know how to shoot. You can Google right now videos of 12-year-old white girls shooting, 7-year-old white girls shooting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that community, it's a necessity almost. And they're not taught that you're not going to get anywhere with violence. As a matter of fact, I will argue that they are taught that you can get places with violence, which is why they honor their military heroes. General Patton, they honor General Patton. They honor George Washington. They honor their military guys. we don't honor LaShawn Overture as much as we should, or Nat Turner as much as we should, or Bookman Duddy as much as we should. So it's just
one of them names, bro. Like that's how it is.
Steady up, bro. Try for some knowledge.
And so this is why it's a cultural thing,
right?
And I think that in reference to making sure that we do it safely, once a community or a culture decides that we need to defend ourselves, responsibility is next. Because if I own a weapon and I'm teaching a kid, I was showing my little brother how to hold my grandfather's weapon over winter break.
Wow.
The first thing I did was teach him about safety and the 5 rules of holding a gun. So once you decide if that's what you want to do, the responsibility follows. So it's really a shift in the culture that we need to be striving for.
Were you raised in a house with guns, or?
I was 9 years old. I was in West Philly. That's where I live, West Philly. And my dad, he said, "Come here," and he was like. He had the TV. It was a TV stand, but there was a space between the TV stand and the floor. He reaches under and pulled out the gun.
Wow.
And I forget what kind of weapon it was, but he told me what kind of weapon it was, and he basically said, "Don't touch this." I think that was an issue. My grandfather was in the military. He learned how to shoot. My dad knows how to shoot. My uncle knows how to shoot, but nobody taught me how to shoot coming up. It wasn't until I brought it to my grandfather that I was interested, that they started showing me how to work these weapons. So that's another issue, is that culturally we don't pass it down. Even if your great uncle can shoot, he's not going to teach his great nephew or his great niece.
Why do you think that is? My dad is a law enforcement. He's an investigator in DeKalb County for the DA office. And like growing up, he had his gun. He always kept it locked away. He told me a couple spots where they were, but he never, like, except for maybe one time, took me to the range to actually show me how to shoot. And I was just wondering, like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's kind of like secretive and like this thing on the side that, like, it's like another family, like it's like guns over here. You don't hear about them and all that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think that it's twofold. I think that the first reason, or the first element, is that we're not really proud of our weapons, and I think that that's a part of the culture. I think that he probably, maybe as a person in law enforcement, doesn't even think the average person should have weapons. I don't know if you ever had that conversation. But it's
he thinks that. I just had like an epiphany. I don't know if it's what he's thinking or not, but I was thinking that a lot of historically, stereotypically, a lot of black men do tend to use weapons against each other.
Yeah.
I think that may be a paranoia that he doesn't want to raise somebody who's like, I don't know, like hyper masculine in a way that he would like feel aggressive. Where like, you know what I'm saying, it goes straight to gun violence. Maybe that's, I don't know if that is, but maybe that is an aspect.
Exactly, and that's what I was getting at. It's that culturally how we view weapons is negative, because if you're in the hood and you turn on your television and you hear about a gun, you just heard that a little girl got hit by a stray bullet, or that this brother killed this brother over some nonsense, right? So culturally, we don't have the best view of guns in the first place. And I think the second element is, to him, maybe it's not necessary. Again, those rural whites, to them, it's almost necessary. You have to learn how to hunt. You have to learn how to survive in any environment. For us, that's not an essential part of the culture, but I'll tell you why it should be. Donald Trump, his first week as president, he sends out a tweet. And the tweet is, if Chicago doesn't fix the horrible carnage, we're going to send in the feds, whoever the feds are. It's a very blatant statement.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, you can find us on CBS Local Chicago. Richard Boykins, the commissioner of Cook County, Illinois, flew to New York and asked the UN to send troops into the city of Chicago. What we're seeing, I'm just going to be blatant, is the priming, in my opinion, of black cities for what I think is genocide. Let me tell you why. This was less highlighted. After Trump said what he said about Chicago, he went to Philly. I know we only got a couple minutes left. He said that the Philadelphia murder rate is getting worse. But when you look at the statistics, our murder rate has been getting better every year. As a matter of fact, the first 8 days of 2018, we had no murders at all. So why are you climbing? Why are you saying that these cities are more dangerous than New York? Because Chicago ain't even the worst city in the country. So, I don't know if you, not to cut you off, I don't know if you know, but in the 70s, I think it is, in Philadelphia, right where the roots, where Black Thought grew up, the government did drop a bomb. It's called Operation Move, I believe.
Yep.
They did bomb a neighborhood to get
nobody even talked about it, which is the crazy thing about it.
I haven't heard about that in a while, but so it is scary to think about the actual government interference in it does become a police state, right. And it is intimidating.
Martial law somewhat as well.
Right, and I want to get this out before we end it. Donald Trump more than likely is not going to allow the UN onto U.S. soil. That would shatter his whole America first thing, and he would lose a lot of followers because, like a professor told us, I think he said when Black America sneezes, the rest of the country catches a cold. So if you in Philly, it's going to be you in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
So more than likely, as a narcissist, he's going to react by sending in the National Guard. Now, again, these things may not happen, but this is what the record
it's a possibility.
is showing
right.
is the possibility. And you should prefer to be more armed than you need to be, less armed than you need to be against any force that exists. So that's the essential aspect of gun ownership.
And Tavier, before we go, first off, thank you so much for just coming on to the show as well. And where can people reach you? Not just that, where and how can they learn more about gun rights?
So, if you want to learn more about gun rights, go.
Plug them in.
NAAGA.co. It's the National African American Gun Association. We're only 3 years old. We got 40,000 members and over 3 dozen chapters in these United States of America. Go join us. It is $24 a year.
It's not
we
bad.
have excellent instructors who can teach you how to master weapons. So that's where you can get involved with gun rights. You can follow me on Twitter because I kick truth on Twitter too. It's Black History Guy.
Oh, I like
on
that.
Twitter.
I like it.
And my Facebook is private stuff. So that's it.
Appreciate it again, Tavier. You guys make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, brother.
Mhm.